We love your face, even though you always look like you're high. Dude, keep doing what you're doing. We need you. We need to laugh. Enough of this evil nonsense. Bring it to God. Amen.
Jim Breuer.
Jim
Breuer.
Jim Breuer.
Jim Breuer.
Hey, this is Jim Breuer.
Bang, 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 bang. You know what that is, Mike?
Pink Panther.
Yes. Okay. Very good. That was impressive. Okay. So I got to tell you guys this. This is, you can't even make this up. Before I moved to Florida, every single morning I'd go to this place called Maria's Cafe, Chester, New Jersey, right on Main Street. And we literally, especially during COVID, formed what I'd say the closest bond of individuals, couples, and families that anyone could imagine. I would say this group is probably closer with each other at times than most families are with one another. And I really mean that. And what's more incredible is the views. There's a couple views that are so opposite way. And although those horns will lock once in a while, nothing keeps them from looking after each other. Like, that's all put aside when they need to be one another and look after each other. With that said, this guy who I'm about to bring on, I met him when I first moved to New Jersey, right? And when I first get there, I go to do this Halloween party or something. So I go to this Halloween party and my neighbor, and there's this big guy. And all I remember is I'm eating this stromboli, right? And if you're from the Northeast, especially New York, this stromboli was like, Fat Jimmy was out of control. Like homemade bread and pepperoni and a cheese. Like I was losing my mind. And then I meet this guy, Joe Abramski, right? And he starts telling, yeah, I'm from Long Island. I'm from Long Island. Where in Long Island? We start talking Long Island. And Long Island's very blue collar. Very, very blue collar. All right. So then I don't really see him, but I can't remember. We swapped numbers. But out of that whole time, I was like, I would even ask my neighbor, if he'd get again, like, is that Abramski guy coming back? When's Joe? I want to hook up with Joe. I really liked Joe and his wife. They were really, because I was talking about this guy and he was telling me he was a fireman and he's retired, or he's not retired. He got sick from 9/11. He's a 9/11 fireman, like ground zero, sick. Had to, like, I can't work anymore because of everything that happened to him. I don't know about you, but I don't know how I would handle that as an individual. My whole life is working a certain way, and then something happens, and although I put my ass on the line, now I'm sick and I'm being taken care of. You can easily bring bitterness to the table. You can easily bring anger, resentment to the table. This guy is, first of all, he never just puts it out there. And he's so humble. I almost didn't believe him the first couple times I heard it. Like, you're too calm about this. Like, I can't. And of course, I'm being silly and tongue in cheek. So, but this is the type of guy he is. And he's got this just. So then COVID hits and bang, bang, boom. And here we are. And we go to the Maria's Coffee every single morning, still gather, even the whole jackassery of standing outside, 40 feet from whatever. We had cars stopping, screaming at us, whatever. And we built this little community and we started helping out the local restaurants. And then I started, actually, I would play this wiffle ball tournament. Which I'm the champ. And Joe Abramski, fireman Joe Abramski, would say he would bring like a fireman. He had all these like fireman trophies. Like, yeah, we'll just make it a wiffle ball too. If you win this, Jim, you get the wiffle. He was so into making everything fun and exciting and getting groups together. So we had this big, which I've talked about on the show, the big wiffle ball tournament, and we win in the game, and Joe was always there. And then the Maria's crew, we start become really close. We have wiffle ball Wednesdays, but then Joe is also the big organizer of our group. And what I mean is like, hey, he knows everyone's birthday. He knows everyone's anniversary. Hey, we got a Super Bowl. Do we want to do a Super Bowl? Hey, we got this coming. We got so-and-so's birthday. You should see what this guy did for, he made this thing, and I can't remember, was it anniversary? No, it was for my father-in-law's, I think it was for my father-in-law's 80th birthday. He made this whole huge cruise boat thing, and he had everyone's head from everyone in the group, and he included everyone. And it was like, but they still delight. It's better than any art piece you could. If you go to Chester, New Jersey, and you're about to walk into New York Pizza, okay? Before you walk in from the parking lot, you walk in, he's got there's this whole train section he set up with all the Maria's crew and local people in that window, and you got to kind of look for him. He loves this. He loves community. The one thing that cracked me up about Joe Abramski is he's a Jet fan. Not only is he a Jets fan, but he goes to every home game. And you and I all know, especially Long Islanders and anyone that's ever followed the Jets, they are horrible. You are investing in loss. That's what you're investing in. No, we're not going to go anywhere. I know we're going to get cremated half the season. I know we're not going to do anything to improve the team, but I'm in. It's my team. That's dedication. And so he goes to all the games, but it's also about family. It's family and a gathering, and this is who Joe Abramski is. Well, I'll be damned. Joe Abramski wins New York Jet Fan of the Year.
All right, the NFL Fan of the Year contest presented by Captain Morgan is right here. That's Joseph Abramski. Let's hear it for the New York Jets Fan of the Year. He's a dedicated former New York City firefighter.
Is he?
Yeah, Fireman Joe for nearly 3 years. To learn more, 3 decades, pardon me, 3 decades. To learn more about all 32 nominees, visit NFL.com/fan of the year.
He's like, yeah, they're sending me to the Super Bowl. Like, what? What? What are you talking about? He goes, yeah, I'm going to the Super Bowl, and they gave me 2 tickets. Like, how you getting there? All right, that's a scam. And he's like, no, they're putting me up. They're flying. They're like, what? So I think it's crazy. Not crazy. I think it's amazing that someone I personally know, and I mean this with all my heart, he is hands down one of the kindest, gentlest souls of a human being, of a man that I've ever come across in my lifetime. I'm being dead honest with you. I don't need to put that out there. I'm being honest with you. We all have a Joe Abramski. if something's going down or you need something, Joe is always like, hey, do you need to pick up at the, hey, I know that your in-laws they're going to the airport. I'll drive them. I'll drive them he's driven my in-laws across bridges to another. He's always got everybody in the community. Always. And you don't even know he's a 9/11 fireman. That's secondhand. He wins the New York Jet Fan of the Year. Well, now he's up for NFL Fan of the Year. I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't watch it anymore. I don't watch any sports. That's just I don't watch sports. And I said, Joe, what happens if you win NFL Fan of the Year? Because they bring us on the field, and I'm like, what? So with that said, I want to bring my good friend Joe Abramski on the show and let him explain a little more what's going on. Here he is. From his chair.
Hey, Jimmy. What an intro.
I have to give the big intro. So, you know what? Before we get into it, something you didn't have at the last part. So people, you need to know this about Joe. Yes, he was a fireman. What was your station, Joe? The fireman station.
I was in ladder 155 my entire career. And that was with engine 302 and ladder 155. And our nickname is the Viper's Nest. And I did the patch. I painted the table. I painted the doors, painted the rigs. I did everything. So I know I had a lot of help.
Well, yeah, but you also, this is the greatest thing too. Now, this is a Polish guy. This isn't even Italian. Joe Abramski makes, hands down, the greatest lasagna you will ever have in your lifetime. And he calls it Godzilla. Godzilla lasagna. And I'm like, Joe, what's in this thing? He's like, everything, Jimmy. Everything. It's like meatballs, sausage, and sweet sauce. That I haven't had a Godzilla lasagna in a long time. If you win NFL Fan of the Year, and it's hopefully people will back you listening or whatever, and they vote for you. As a celebration, we have to have a Godzilla lasagna.
We'll have
That's
Godzilla lasagna.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
There's a layer of chicken parm in it too.
That's right. That's why it's so good. Like you put in chicken parm, then that's right. You put all these different things in it. It's so good. Don't give your secrets away, Joe. Don't give your secrets.
Well, you can taste it. There's eggplant parm in there too. There's layers of everything.
You said there's everything in there. You're like, it's chicken parmesan, it's eggplant parmesan, there's sausage, there's meatballs, there's ricotta cheese, there's Parmesan cheese, there's mozzarella cheese. It was so good. It's so good. It's a fat Jimmy's Dream Island. Just so people know too, and but I want to get into a story that we didn't get into a whole lot. And I don't know if you want to go there, but how do they vote for NFL Fan of the Year for you specifically? So you go on what?
Yeah, you have to go on NFL Fan of the Year. That's the name of the site.
Oh, that's it.
And then that's it. And you'll see
NFL Fan of the Year, and you can vote as many times as you want.
Yeah,
you can just keep voting.
With the other 31 players. Yeah, the other 31 fans of the year, they're also.
And I'm sure all the other fans are incredible. And I have nothing against the other fans. We don't even know the other fans. I'm just like, I don't know who else is on the block, but just as a human being, Joe, I would be beaming with such joy at home if you end up NFL Fan of the Year. I know this sounds crazy. I think I'll be beaming with joy because you're such a good human being. I know I'm gonna make you squirm and whatever. Yeah. I'm just being honest. So I want to ask you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Do you even know what you get besides going on the field for the NFL Fan of the Year?
I think a trophy. You know, we
Okay.
looked it up previous years. It's a trophy. They announce it at halftime. And
Yeah.
I think the voting goes to February 6th. And,
Okay.
but I said the other day in the interview, I says, I feel like I won already because I'm going to the Super Bowl. How many opportunities I don't think I ever would go to the Super Bowl, but the Jets are sending me to the Super Bowl and me and my wife, Kathy. And I think it's just, wow. I've never been to New Orleans. So it's like 2 for 1, you know? And
Yeah, you're gonna. It's and they put you up and everything. They
yeah,
put you up, they're flying you
hotel,
there.
transportation, NFL activities, meals. So I'm excited,
Well,
you
I can
know?
tell you this. I went years ago. I think I was just on Saturday Night Live, and went to the Super Bowl, and the activities. To be honest with you, for me, that was the best part because
Yeah.
I remember, like, oh yeah, the Black Crows are playing over there, and the Beach Boys are like, what? And the Beach Boys are playing in front of nobody. It's like 50 people, and people are eating at all these the foods, all these different tents, all these different events, the fan club, and all this. It's a really, for you being such a fan, it's like going to Disney World
Yeah.
for as a sports fan. It's such a great time. What you didn't retire? Can I ask you about 9/11?
Oh, yeah. I
If
mean,
you want.
yeah, it's rough. You know, I was looking through pictures prior to this, and, you know, it was a rough day. It was a whole rough weeks after. Uh, and, you know, I'm kind of, you know,
Yeah,
what
I
do you
know.
want to ask me? Yeah. What do you want to
Well,
ask?
I don't need to ask about the day and what happened and all that. More about you had eventually stop being a fireman
Yeah.
because what exactly did you get? That's what I
Well,
wanted to ask.
when we were down there, we kind of knew that with the dust and everything, that it was going to be bad. And the FDNY had this fire uh, years ago called the telephone company fire. And unfortunately, everybody that apparently was at that fire, they died because of all the new plastics and uh, PVC piping and everything. And you know, so this was something that we kind of knew, and we were trying to protect ourselves wearing anything that we can get, because normally in a regular fire situation, we have we call it Scott packs. That's the portable breathing apparatus that we breathe, and
Yeah.
we're not taking in any of the contaminants. Well, they didn't have enough for all the guys. So we were putting bandanas on, we were putting shirts, you name it. We were putting everything on just to protect ourselves. And I remember when we were walking up, there was a bunch of young guys. And actually, you know, I had like 10 years on the job, 9 years on the job, maybe 10 years on the job. And, you know, we passed a whole bunch of people with masks, and they were handing them out. And I just said, you know, let's stop. Let's make a beeline over there. And I grabbed a whole bunch of masks for the young guys and said, just put it 2 or 3 on and put some in your pocket. And so they did. And after about an hour, uh, my buddy said, "Hey, Joe, look." And we had like 2 or 3 masks on. He took it off, and you could see the dust on the inside of the mask, all like it was all wet. So I was like, "Oh man, this is not good." So, and this was everybody in Lower Manhattan. You know, anybody that experienced that dust. And I think now a lot of people are still very sick from it, and a lot of people passed because of it after the fact. And but that was it was just really crazy to think that this could happen in New York City. You know, like it's crazy.
Were you, well, you had to retire eventually,
Yeah,
or
I had a
did you get sick
yeah,
from that?
yeah,
And then
yeah. In
that's what I wanted.
2004, I think in
Yeah.
2004, I had my gallbladder out, and I went to a fireman wedding, and we came home, and I had severe stomach pains, and I think I ended up laying on the ground, like this something's not right, and my wife Kathy said it was that you had the seafood. That's what you ate, was a seafood salad. I was like, yeah,
It was
but
the damn grouper. Damn this grouper. No more
But,
snapper.
but then I felt fine, and like you're just trying to, okay, maybe it was just something I ate,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
and then bam, I had an attack in the I went to work, and it was, I was like, something's not right. I think I had like some bagel in the morning for breakfast, and I was
Yeah.
okay going to work, and then that's when I had the like gallbladder attacks. I was like, what the heck is going on? So then they had to take me to the ambulance, and it was the bumpiest ambulance ride. I felt every bump, and long
Sure
story
did.
short, in Jamaica Hospital, because that's where my
Oh,
firehouse
wow.
was.
Jamaica, Queens. Wow.
They took me to the closest firehouse, and they were going to take me elsewhere, but I was like, I just want to go to the hospital. Get me to the hospital. And after, I think the third shot of morphine is when I could put my legs down, and so that was the gallbladder. Yeah, and the gallbladder was
Okay.
out, got better,
Yeah.
uh, and then the whole lungs thing, the sinuses. I started going because I was driving into work, and it almost felt like you were drunk. Like something's not right. My equilibrium was like something's not right, and
Huh.
so I got to work, and I remember walking into my lieutenant's office, and I was always like bright and cheery. I was a character in the firehouse.
The way you are. The way you are. I can only imagine. I can only imagine back then. Every day, you guys don't understand. When you come in, that's the impressive. What's up, boys? So here's what's going on, and blah blah blah. And he's in everyone. Hey, do you need a ride? Everything good with you? You let me
Yeah,
know if you need anything. Blah
yeah,
blah blah. Okay. So yeah, you're
but,
being
yeah.
yourself. Go ahead.
But my lieutenant said immediately, he saw me, and he said my face was white, and he said, "You all right?" And I said, "No." And I'm like one of those guys that would always, I would always tell people, if there was like guys playing basketball or pickup game and you weren't feeling good, they were like, "Joe, can you play? We need you." Yeah, I'll play. And that day, I was the first time in my life where I said, "No, something's going on here that I think it's a little bit bigger than I think it is." And then that was the whole sinuses, and I had surgery, and doctors and doctors and doctors, and the FDNY doctors and nurses, they are angels on earth,
Mm,
because they did everything there. I still talk to some of them, and they just helped out so many firemen that were sick, and very caring. And they set you up like it was like boom. You know how you have to wait for tests? Bam!
yeah.
Within an hour, she got the tests, and and then I had surgery, and and then I realized I couldn't be a fireman anymore. It's called LSS, and I actually kept leaving the doctor's office in the FDNY, and
Yeah.
because he didn't put me LSS, because once you get that designation, you can no longer be an active firefighter. So I was like, okay,
Oh.
well maybe there's a way that I can get back to the firehouse after this. And they had
Yeah.
already known from all the surgeries and tests. And then the doctor, great doctor, uh, I had an appointment. It was like my fourth or fifth appointment to see him. And he came out into the waiting room, and he was like, "Joe, come here." So I went in, and he's like, we end up talking. And he always would forget, to put me that designation. And then he used great psychology on me. He said, "Joe, you love being a fireman, right? You love yeah, yeah, yeah." He says, "I know a little bit about you." And he says, "You got a wife?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "What's her name?" I said, "Kathy." And then he says, "You got children?" And he says, I said, "Yeah." And then I told him their names. And he says, "You see where I'm going with this, right? There's a bigger world out there than the firehouse. And
Oh.
you have a future. You have their future." And and it was pretty rough to to understand, like, that's it, you know, because the fire department and in every firehouse, there's a kitchen. And I know there's some movies about it and people talk about it, but the firehouse kitchen is the heart of the firehouse. And
Huh.
I swear you must be the class clown in your high school or grade school to become a fireman because there are so many funny guys and everything is about breaking chops. And
Yes.
if you have problems coming into the firehouse, immediately you forget about them and you're just thankful. And you want people to break your chops, you know? And
Right.
and it was just a great environment. And unfortunately, me along with a lot of other guys, that
Mm.
was it, you know. And uh, I ended up working light duty because now you're light duty. You can't work in the firehouse, so you're like a light duty. So you have to work in a job where you hand out tools or you just help out the fire department in different aspects in between
Yeah.
doctor's appointments because it is a
Yeah.
process. And
Yeah.
my buddy was a captain and he worked at the counseling unit. And I was so thankful that I got to experience working at the counseling unit because, you know, I said it wasn't like another 9/11, but it was a different like book that nobody realizes that you had all these people that the survivors, the families
Mm.
that
Mm.
lost their husband or
Mm.
brother or son, and the way they helped you was like wow. And I was like a little bit a part of it, uh, but they were like the professionals that they could help you. And there's people now that are still hurting. You know, they're. I talk to them and they've gotten help, and then I say, well, maybe you want to go for a little bit more help. You know, uh, but it is, and there's regular people too that I talk to because once they
Yeah.
find out that you're a 9/11 fireman, they're like, hey, I was there and I did this. So they tell you their story. And
Right.
everybody experience, you know, loss and change and tragedy. And it was just, you know, I'm just thankful that the fire department took care of me health wise.
Yeah.
And they actually said, you know, go spend time with your family and take the medicine. I take a lot of medicine still. And
Mm.
it's, you know, that was a good thing with the
Yeah.
counseling unit.
So, okay. I didn't know the fire. When you say the fire department like took care of you, do they do all the setup of the medical calls or they have like their, you know how like the vets have the VA hospital?
Yeah.
Is there a
Um,
fireman type thing
yeah,
or?
it's called a medical office, and I still go at once a year to get a full medical, and they check your lungs, the blood, they check everything, and
Uh,
medication that you need, uh,
yeah.
or if there's something else that comes
Yeah.
up. A lot of guys are getting, you know, I would always ask the nurses. I have a very good rapport with a lot of the nurses, and I would say, so what's the flavor of the day? You know, like, is there a new cancer fireman are getting? Because with the HIPAA
Uh,
laws, everybody's kind of like secretive, but
mm,
and they have come out with books and statistics, and uh, but I would always want to know, like, what's another cancer that's new, and
right.
I know
Right.
skin cancer was a big one, stomach, brain.
Right. Right.
So there's individuals that are out there dealing with this.
Right.
That are firemen, and my heart goes out to them, and I wish them the best.
You know, I remember you. That's something I learned about you too, and I keep forgetting you had that experience in life. And I can't pinpoint the exact person or what it was for, but something I noticed about you too. If there's something heavy going on with someone, and I can't remember
Yeah,
if it was a couple years ago, and you were like, maybe I should go talk to. I think there may be something else going on. Like I've
yeah,
noticed you're that guy too. Like, no, we're all kind of kidding, but I think there's something. You'd always go, there's something heavier going on with that guy.
Yeah.
And you'd always find out, like, you know what? This guy's going through X, Y, Z, and Z. So maybe we should gather around, do this. And then, you know, I don't know if you guys know it, but this person's going through this and this and this.
Yeah.
You have that. You have that in you. So I wanted the world to meet Joe Abramski, the human being, the guy that's up for NFL Fan of the Year.
Yeah.
And now you know the story of the NFL potential, and hopefully he gets it. No disrespect to anyone else going for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully Joe Abramski gets NFL Fan of the Year. Go to NFL Fan of the Year and vote. You go to the Jets, and there's Joe. There's Fireman Joe. We call him Fireman Joe. We've got two firemen there. We got Fireman Phil, and we got Dish. It's a strong Firehouse place, that Maria's Cafe. But I just wanted the world to meet Joe. I love you, brother. And I'll be up there again. See you. Give Kathy. By the way, everyone should know this. Joe's wife and I should have been. We can easily start our own sketch show. Joe's wife is so funny. She reminds me of Molly Shannon back in the day when I was SNL. Kathy Abramski can lock into a character like that, and then I'll join in with a different character. We were at Fred's wedding. I think we went on for 2 hours. It was like an hour and a half. Me and her just nonstop, bringing it to a whole new level. I've had some of my best laughs with all of us in the car, and a good family. And I'm looking forward to next year wedding. That's all personal stuff, but I love you, Joe Abramski. I hope you get it.
Hey, Jim, thanks so much for the words. I really appreciate it.
Man.
And
you got it.
I love you, brother.
I just think I love you too, man. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
And hey, I said Miami would lose to the Jets, and they did.
You did say that. You did say that. You did say it. Well, there you go. All right, brother. Have a good one. Take care,
Jim.
Joe.
Take care, brother.
Joe Abramski, everyone. NFL Fan of the Year. He's the Jet, and you can vote as many times as you want. So there you. I had to. I mean, it's like one of my great friends, and like, I'm living down here in Florida, and see, he talked a little bit about 9/11. This is what people don't understand either. It's no different than a war. And when I say a war, I don't want to disrespect any veterans, but what I mean is that seeing human beings dying, getting killed, slowly dying, mentally dying. And this guy, in my opinion, he's such a warrior because he puts all that aside and he doesn't make that all about his life. And he shows up to that coffee shop, the guy in the neighborhood that wants to spread joy to everyone. So I hope Joe Abramski gets it. Go vote Joe! Getting all emotional from a buddy. All right. We'll see you next time. This was a special edition of the Bruniverse. Good luck, Joe.
Take a look around and what do you see? Mark the date down tonight, we're making history.
Hey, this is Jim Breuer, and I got my own Patreon page, and hopefully you'll check it out. Live comedy concert streamed once a month. Early access to the Bruniverse podcast every single week, and have bonus footage and bonus segments. I promise you I'm not going to let you down. Go check out my official Jim Breuer Patreon page, and I'll see you there.